tuning in. This is Matt Santos of the Mile High Show. You're listening to episode 219. This is another episode where Jim Sobo takes over the mics. Jim Sobo of the Howling Coyote Tour. You can find out information on the tour and on Jim at howlingcoyotetour.com. He sits down with Kenny James and Johan Glidden, two local musicians from Prescott and beyond. They've got a Howling Coyote showcase coming up this Friday, the 22nd of November, at Mark's Beer Garden. Links are in the show notes, so check them out. 6 to 9 p.m. over at Mark's, and this is Jim's monthly show at Mark's, where he features local singers and songwriters from the Prescott area, Yavapai County area. And he also goes on tour, which has been an annual tour, and now will be twice a year, including this winter's tour. So you'll get a chance to see Jim and his guests, Johan Glidden and Kenny James, this Friday at Mark's Beer Garden. Then Jim has another show, and I can't remember who is going to be on it. Again at Mark's about mid-December to kick off his winter Howling Coyote Tour, where he'll be heading over to California, up and down the coast again. So check out Jim. Check out his guests. He's got a great lineup of friends and folks that play with him. So go on over to Mark's. Check it out. Also, we're working on a little project, taking some of the kind of the greatest hits from Jim's Howling Coyote Radio Hour podcasts. We're going to put them together, a little collection for you to enjoy. Look for that soon in the next couple of months. We're going to put that together and give you a chance to hear some of the music in a compilation download CD. We're not sure what we're going to do with it yet, but Jim and I will be working on that in the next couple of months. So look for that. Links for all that. And our social media will be at milehighshow.com. Something I want to keep you up to date on, too, is a new live show that we've started. It is a new mixed open mic that will be taking place each and every month, starting with December 12th. It's going to be the second Thursday of every month. Again, starting December 12th, we will be at Plaza Bowl in Prescott, Arizona. What's the address over there? I forget. Hold on just a second. Let me pull it up. A link for that is right on our homepage at milehighshow.com. But Plaza Bowl is at 127 Plaza Drive in Prescott, Arizona. It's up by Thumb Butte. What would that be? North, I guess? Northwest? I don't know. Of the courthouse square in the Thumb Butte area. Plaza Bowl will be in the lounge. This is a mixed open mic. Comedy, music, storytelling, poetry, whatever you want to do, whatever your talent is. Keep in mind, though, unlike most open mics around the area, and this is what's going to set us apart, I think, this is an all-ages open mic. Family and radio-friendly content only. Excuse me. So come on down December 12th. Sign-ups at 6:30. Show will start at 7. We'll run about an hour and a half or so. Anything you want to do, music, comedy, storytelling, poetry, whatever, at Plaza Bowl, December 12th. Family-friendly, radio-friendly, kind of a little talent show that we're going to be running each and every month. Plaza Bowl, 6:30 sign-up, 7 p.m. show start. We hope to make this a nice venue for artists of all ages to showcase their talent. So come on down again, December 12th, Plaza Bowl. Listen to Jim and his guests, Kenny James and Johan Glidden. See them live this Friday, the 22nd at Mark's Beer Garden. Thanks for tuning in. Loving someone else when I remember holding
you. I could do Jim's intro for him.
Yeah.
I can do a Sobo imitation if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. So, here we are. It's the Howling Coyote Tour. It's good to be here. I'm Jim Sobo. I've got it down. I'm here with Matt and Johan and Kenny. It's awesome, man. It's the California boy in you, man. I grew up there too.
My skating days. All right. So I think that's an introduction.
And we're on.
And we are on. This is the Howling Coyote Tour Radio Hour. My name is Jim Sobo. That was Mr. Kenny James. He's part of my DNA here in Prescott for the last 20 years. One of the first people that I met, and a great influence of mine. Great, just foundation of what this town means to me musically. And we have we have a first timer here with the Howling Coyote Tour, Mr. Johan Glidden. Hello, Johan.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
How are
man.
you today?
I am doing excellent.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming by. Johan is also, like Mr. James, very busy man, and probably had his fingers in music one way or another for how many years now would you in your young life?
17 total years of the 22.
Years. Wow.
Yeah.
And Kenny, I would venture to say 30 years?
About 8 years. 8 years or so. Right.
Kenny's only 25. So
Right.
I'm so sorry.
So you picked up the violin when you were 3?
when I was 5.
5.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a Howling Coyote Tour every single year. This year we're doing it twice. We're doing both a summer tour and a winter tour. My daughter is off in college now, and I have a little bit more time on my hands, so I decided to take on another tour. Every single year for the last 14 years, I've been taking local singer-songwriters up to the San Francisco Bay Area and showcasing them. And recently been spending a lot of time in both Marin County and Sonoma County. Very welcoming, acoustic singer-songwriter, musical communities, really down to earth. They've been very, very good to us over the years. The radio stations there, KRSH and the Bohemian. So we'll be going back again soon, probably in next month. And we do a show now every single month here at Mark's Beer Garden. And the next show is with Mr. Kenny James and Mr. Johan Glidden on Friday the 22nd of November at Mark's Beer Garden from 6 to 9 o'clock. So do come down and check that out. And we have both of them here for the radio hour, and I'm very blessed and honored to have them. So first, I'm going to talk to Kenny. Kenny, like I said, you're one of the first people that I met when I first moved here.
Hey, so I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Was the tour that when Gary Ukra and John Hust and I, was that the first one?
The one that you went on?
It was me and John
Yes,
Hust.
that was the fourth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the
I wasn't
fourth tour.
aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And now, how many have I done?
That was with Mr. Jonathan Hust, Mr. Gary Ukra, Kenny James, and myself.
Right.
And that was the only time that I've ever featured, including myself, 3 other artists.
How many times have I done it? 3 times or 2 times?
You've done it twice.
Twice,
But I'm
okay.
hoping there'll be a third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was fun. Yeah, Wes and I did it the last time.
Yes.
That was great.
Wes Williams. And so every year we try to bring up some amazing players, most of them here in the Prescott area, very few from outside the Prescott area in the last 14 years. And honestly, it's because we just have such tremendous talent around here.
Well, I remember that tour with John and Gary, and the thing that struck me and that most stands out from that thing, it still sticks in my mind, that I knew John, and I had seen John play guitar at Dave Whitley's open mic at Coyote Joe's. And I'll never forget the first time I saw John, because he did 3 or 4 songs, and all 3 or 4 of them stuck in my head for like a week. And I remember calling Dave Whitley, and I was saying, wow, that guy's amazing. And Dave was like, oh yeah, he's the real deal. But I had never heard Gary sing before I went on that tour. Actually, we did a radio show here in town before we went out on the tour, kind of like this.
I think with Sandy Moss.
Okay. That was the first time I heard Gary sing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like blown away I was like, okay, these John Aston and you and Gary are like these great songwriters. So yeah, I had to go dust off some of my original. I had to pull my game up a little bit for that one. But yeah, the thing that really sticks in my mind was doing those shows with Gary and how unassuming and humble a guy he was. And I would just sit there in awe. Like, what an amazing songwriter. And to this day, he's like, not just in Prescott, but anywhere, he's one of my favorite songwriters.
And Gary, yes, we had him on the radio show here. If not the last podcast, the podcast before that, with Pat Berry, and we talked a lot about how Gary approaches songwriting, and it's completely different and that's what's great about every one of us as songwriters, in the way we hold the guitar and the relationship we have with the guitar or the piano or lyrically or vocally. It's an adventure, and all of us approach it a lot differently, but Gary definitely floats his own boat. You know, he's going down the river in his own stream of consciousness way, that he doesn't think twice about what he puts when he puts a lyric down. That's what it's supposed to be, even if it doesn't logically or sensically the way that a lot of people want to rhyme.
Right.
So, yeah, I learned a lot about songwriting just talking with Gary.
Yeah, me too.
Actually. Editing down things to its most simplistic form. It had a big effect on me. Like, getting I used to write a lot more poetic prose type lyrics. And then after hearing some of Gary's songs where it's just like me and you talking now, would end up in a lyric to one of Gary's songs, just that really simple declarative English. And so that was it was fun because it took me in a whole new direction of songwriting. Hey, this is how I would just talk to you, Right,
really straightforward, but also kind of allowing the subconscious to come through too, without judging it or having to make it fit necessarily. Liquor Store is a great song of his. Yeah, just exactly about that, and that's the one that he played. And for those of you that have never heard of Gary Ukra or Jonathan Hust, it's hard to find them out on the mighty web. You'd really have to come
but
to
Gary
see them
does play
live.
every Wednesday.
Yes,
at the
here in Prescott, Arizona. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Prescott, Arizona, we're about 5,800 feet up here in what would be the northwest of Arizona. And it's gorgeous. We've got lakes, we've got forest, just an absolutely peaceful, tranquil, beautiful place that spurs people that want to find some peace and tranquility that have come here from all over the country to do so. And we end up getting a lot of tremendous songwriters like Kenny James. Kenny is a great example of that. Just a wealth of history that he brings with him that Prescott has been a beneficiary of. And so I would be remiss not, let's just go with talking just a teeny bit about your history, only what you're comfortable with. But I would be remiss not to touch upon a couple parts of your past. Well,
I grew up in San Francisco, and mostly like, and you're from the Bay Area, so I mean, you can't walk down the street without hearing music, and I really started in the church. I was about 4 years old, and my mom was kind of a hippie, and she took me and my brother to church. And I just remember hearing the power of the Hammond organ and the precision bass and the acoustic guitars coming off the stage. And I was pretty young, of course, but I remember that power. And so that's kind of what kind of got me into music. And when I picked up the guitar, it always seemed to kind of come easy to me. Of course, I started on piano, and I went to Catholic school, and the nuns used to beat the crap out of me. So I still have scars from that. And so to this day, I like to play piano. And sometimes when I get stuck on the guitar, I'll go in, I'll sit. We have a beautiful sanctuary at our church with a Steinway, and so I'll go in there when nobody's around and kind of plunk around on the piano. But so anyways, my real vivid memory, the real thing that changed me was walking down, I think it was probably Haight. And you know how they have those beautiful houses there, and somebody was just blaring Sam Cooke out of the window of the second story. If you ever change your mind. And I heard that, and it stopped me in my tracks. I mean, you hear these like cliches, like stopped in your tracks. It stopped me in my tracks, hearing Sam Cooke come out of the window like that. And I went right to the record store and got that album, and I must have listened to that, Bring It On Home. I must have listened to that. Like, I just wore the grooves out on it, you know. And then, of course, you know, I got older, and Peter Frampton came to town, and, you know, the Les Paul and the blonde hair and all that. And I got kind of sucked into the whole rock star thing, like everybody else had Frampton Comes Alive. And but I was about 15 years old, and a friend of mine played. He actually was the guitarist. Gene, boy, I should remember his last name. In fact, I just saw him on Facebook. I can't think of his last name, but his friend of mine, Gene, a little bit older than me, and he played guitar in John Lee Hooker's Coast to Coast Blues Band. And the sax player left, or probably OD'd or something. And Gene was one of those cats that could play anything. And Gene played sax, and he was amazing. And the Hook, John Lee Hooker, was total old school in that his band opened the show. They would never have an opening act. His band opened the show. Well, the sax player that left was the singer. He could sing, and nobody else really in the band could really sing. And so Gene said, well, I know this kid that can sing. So I ended up doing a couple of tours with them, but that made me realize at an early age that touring sucks, and sitting on a bus is like the worst thing ever. And so right after that, I started working at Tiki Sound in San Jose. You can look it up. The Rocky soundtrack was recorded there. So I was getting coffee and cleaning the toilets and rolling up chords. And that's kind of became a real love of my life, was recording. And I just fell in love with the whole thing. And so I've worked in a bunch of recording studios around the Bay Area. And but working at Tiki Sound, you know, 16, 17 years old, running around getting coffee, seeing Bob Conti in there score Rocky, dun, 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 you know, all the horns and everything, and seeing some major recording artists come through that studio, which wasn't a top flight studio, but it was just a nick down. So like a movie like Rocky that didn't have a big budget, it was the perfect kind of studio. And then, but we got some really good acts, a lot of, you know, bands you would know that came through Tiki Sound. And so I got to kind of see that whole process of recording and learning that. And then I went on to work from there to mostly a place called TRS in Sunnyvale, which you're familiar with Sunnyvale, the recording studio in Sunnyvale, where I met Kevin Gilbert, who was a genius. And so Kevin was younger than me, but still kind of took all of us under his wing, because we thought we knew what we were doing. And then one day Kevin walks in the studio and it was like, oh, we don't know anything. You know, it's like we thought, you know, we were all pretty seasoned recording guys. But the day Kevin showed up, we were humbled. He really knew what recording was. So I learned a lot.
The first time I heard Toy Matinee,
right,
completely just lost my socks.
Well, I was telling Johan the other day, I don't know if you've ever listened to that record, Thud. Mm-hmm. Right. But it's a really well-known audiophile album, which is, you know, it's still, people talk about that record on blogs. The other day I was on some recording blog, and people are talking about Thud and Kevin Gilbert and what a genius he really was. And he was an amazing guy, and he was a funny guy, and just I really miss him. There was a lot of laughs.
Yeah, what a void.
Yeah.
Well, you just recorded up in the Bay Area not too long ago.
We did.
And I heard that was a nice studio.
That was an amazing. That's probably the nicest studio I've ever been in my life, and I've been in some nice. I was in music. I worked just for a few months at Music Annex, where Steely Dan recorded, and Music Annex is just south of San Francisco. Is well known as one of the. They've got the Neve 8078 console, like one of the best consoles in the world, and that place is amazing. I mean, how many gold and platinum albums came out of Music Annex? I don't know. I guess you could Google that, but a ton. And that was pretty much the nicest thing I'd ever seen. Hyde Street in San Francisco, a lot of hit records and stuff, but it was kind of a dump. And Sound City, which, there's documentaries on. I'd been in there. I'd never worked in there, but I walked through the place, and it was a total dump. And how many hit records came out of that place? We worked at a place called the 25th Street Studio in Oakland with John Coonaberti, who worked with the Dead Kennedys and worked with, most famously, and worked with Joe Satriani. And that was a humbling experience. It was really cool to go in there with your songs and have a producer say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And you have to relearn your song on the spot. Yeah. So, but it was, the process was great. The end product came out. It's a really good album. I like the album Vacation Day. Yeah. It's a good record from beginning to end, but I think it was more just the whole process of doing that record and working with John was just an amazing experience. It was just cool. Yeah. It's cool to go into a studio and not have to turn knobs, just be an artist.
Right.
And then also be produced, not have to make those decisions, have somebody make them for you,
right.
And so
it's very freeing.
And I know you've worked with big time producers too. So that feeling of where you're just the artist, and when you humble yourself and you just do kind of what they ask you to do and tell you to do, it's really
it's so liberating.
Right. It is.
Yeah. Where you can just perform.
Right.
And write and express yourself.
And you're thinking in your head, this is not going to work. And then in the end, it works. Their vision works,
Right. Because we all, unfortunately, in the business these days, we all have to wear so many hats. You can't just be, a soulful artist. You also have to be a business person and know how to record and how to work equipment and how to be your own roadie, and there's so many different parts of it to be successful, to be the whole package.
Booking,
right? my strange forte. Well, great. How about you play a song for us?
Sure. This one's called You're the Song. Morning shine, I feel the feels just knowing that you're mine. I get your mocha coffee and I take my time. I don't care, I could go anywhere with you. Beautiful day, down the trail and never mind the rain. You race me to the car door and you call my name. The sky begins to dye the bluest blue, and I still see your smile wrapped around me when I daydream. You twist my arm to tell you what you mean to me. I could never be quite sure where to start, and so I let you know when I lace my shoes today, when I'm coming home. Behind the wheel I stare out at the Russian road. You're the song I'm singing in my heart. When evening falls, a rainbow on the windows and the walls. You know how much I need you, you're my all. You've got to be a dream before they can true. I drove all night to see your face before the morning light. I don't remember remember when I found my second sight. Anywhere, I just don't care when I'm with you. And I still see your smile after I me when I daydream. If you twist my arm to tell you what you mean to me, I could never be quite sure where to start. And so I let you know when I lace my shoes today and when I'm coming home. Behind the wheel I stare out at the Russian road, and you're the song I'm singing in my heart. And I still see your smile after I me when I daydream. If you twist my arm to tell you what you mean to me, I could never be quite sure where to start. And so I let you know when I lace my shoes today, when I'm coming home. Behind the wheel I stare out at the Russian road. You're the song I'm singing in my heart. You're the song I'm singing in my heart. You're the song I'm singing in my heart.
Beautiful. And that's an example of the beauty within the simplicity of just playing the guitar and singing and feeling.
There's nothing quite like it, is
No,
there?
no. That's why I love the concept. I love the fact that you guys did a songwriters circle recently.
Yeah, we're planning another one
At
too.
the Birdcage with Don. That stuff, you know, as far as Howling Coyote Tour goes, that's it for me. You know, I wish I gotten to see John Hyatt and Lyle Lovett when they were here, just kind of passing it back and forth. That must have been amazing.
Lyle
Yeah.
Lovett's going to be around February 15th.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Kenny.
Oh, sure.
That was gorgeous. Johan.
How you doing, man?
Hello. So, we know you've been playing since you were 5 years old. And was it forced upon you? Obviously, at 5 years old. Or was it something even then that kind of came really naturally to you? And
I mean, it wasn't. I don't think anything really came naturally to me, but it was. I remember being 3 years old. It's one of my earliest memories, being 3 years old, and I had from Little House on the Prairie, this little toy violin that I forget what the Pa. You know, the Laura Ingalls Wilder thing. Anyways, I had a toy fiddle, and then at 3, I remember we were driving on the road, and I remember sitting in the back seat and saying, "I want to play the violin." And they didn't really trust me, and so they waited 2 more years. And but by 5, I was a reliable. You know, I had kept up my desire to play the violin, and yeah, and so they got me or actually, my grandparents bought me my first little tiny, like 1/8 size violin or something ridiculous like that. And yeah, and then I started playing classical Suzuki method violin, learning by ear originally, and then learning how to read music. And then
He still has that tiny violin. He pulls it out from time to
yeah,
time.
there's a song there somewhere.
I couldn't let that one.
My
No.
tiny violin.
yeah, exactly. But but no, and then I started playing fiddle music about 5 years into that, and I still enjoyed playing classical music and whatnot, and then that was how I got on stage, started learning how to improvise. But then somewhere in there, I found the guitar, and people were kind of bummed out when I became so enamored with the guitar, even though there's not as many violinists out there. But anyways, I started playing the acoustic guitar, and then my parents wouldn't let me have an electric guitar for a long time, and then finally I convinced my dad. I got him a loan. You have to separate your parents to do this, you know. And yeah, and I got it was a blue Ibanez of some sort up in Flagstaff, and that was when I really started getting into playing in bands, playing in rock bands and stuff like that. And
was
then
the reason why you wanted to pick up the guitar because of stuff that you were listening to at that time?
Yeah, and just because I'd played my friends' electric guitars, and just there's a feeling about that, man, especially when you're 10, 11, 12 years old. Like there's something so liberating about playing a loud electric guitar. But no, I also grew up listening to a lot of old blues. My dad actually has met Muddy Waters, and like Muddy Waters' band stayed at his house in Madison, Wisconsin in the late 60s, early 70s. And so I grew up, hearing a lot of blues, a lot of rock and roll, and Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was obviously the desire to do that too.
So your dad was playing a lot of great
records,
blues-based rock and roll from the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah.
Was Clapton your guy, or did you have a guy?
Clapton sort of became my guy. I didn't really have a guy. Like I sort of, at that point, I loved music, but I didn't really,
You know the tune "Stepping Out" on the Mayo and the Blues record.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was it for me.
Yeah,
That
I think
killed me.
you sent me that before one time. Yeah, way back when. I think you showed that to me for the first time.
Oh,
But
okay.
but I don't know. Yeah, so it was that kind of stuff. Beatles records, obviously too, and I mean a million other things. I'm just but that was.
So when you first picked it up, was it an acoustic or electric or both?
My sister bought a classical guitar, and my older sister, and she was going to learn how to play guitar. She played piano, and so did I at that time as well. I guess I left piano out of the whole thing, but and I sort of stole it from her and started playing it, and then she gave up pretty quickly, actually, which is a bit of a sad story for her, I suppose, but it was a good story for me. And then I bought an acoustic guitar soon after that, and
Excellent. So as now you're being influenced and you're playing, you're dabbling with the acoustic, you're dabbling with the electric. Was there a moment where you kind of found yourself within being all of these influences and like, hey, maybe this is what Johan sounds like?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I don't know if there's an exact moment, but I remember I had always wrote stories as a little kid. Just since I was 5 years old, somebody gave me this leather-bound notebook, and I would make up stories like, I don't know, sort of C.S. Lewis, like not mythological, that sort of fantasy. So I always liked stories and literature, and so I started writing songs actually when I was a really little kid, but maybe 13, 14, 15, I started writing songs, and actually, that was where I found especially 15, 16, and then playing those songs live, that was where that's my happiest place right there. Is
there a songwriter? So the reason why I like the Howling Coyote Tour concept or a songwriter circle concept is because it's one voice, one instrument, one person playing and representing themselves, especially when it's original music.
Yeah.
Was there a source that you drew from as far as songwriters go, or did it just kind of sprout from you from all these various influences that were part of your environment? It sounds like your dad was very much of a music enthusiast.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. It was. I think at first, for sure, it was just a product of just what I had grown up listening to. Everything that I wrote, and the fact that the way that my dad, he's not a songwriter, but he's definitely a writer and a poet. He taught English for many years, but he's like a really cool creative writer. So that's sort of like wanting to have clever little turns on phrases and things like that. That was sort of what I first started doing, and then I don't know. Yeah, I think it was more of just a product of what I'd grown up listening to more than one specific
a combination
guy.
of
Yeah,
everything.
I mean Bob Dylan, obviously, like it's another obvious answer, but I do remember being really struck by at about 14, 15 by Times They Are Changing and Highway 61 Revisited. Those two albums.
Yeah. It's funny. Recently, I've been thinking a lot about Bob Dylan as a man rather than a musician. And just, some people have stories about him backstage and this and that, but, like, I don't know.
He seems like an odd dude. I don't know
exactly. Just, but having so much attention so early and the way that his mind works, I'm sure that, it's probably not easy being Bob Dylan.
No, I don't think it's, it seems almost impossible.
Well, please, let's hear what came out.
All right,
of all of that musical influence, and it sounded like a lot of positive support from family.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of family, I'm gonna do this is a song that references my father pretty quick on. This is called Good Company. About a book I read without him saying I should go to church instead. Well, I haven't missed a Sunday since back when I was a baby. Yes, I walk the narrow pathway, but sometimes I turn my head. And don't we all? And I don't know that I will ever understand what love is, or know what just enough is before it's way too much. And I don't know that Goldilocks has left me any porridge. In this world of 7 billion, all I'm looking for is one, just the one. If I can't have good luck, give me good company. A couple of friends and the road below my feet. All come without warning when the afternoon arrives. But I can watch my blues away each and every night with that pink on the horizon as the sun escapes the sky. And so do I. And I've got things to do and I've got mountains to be moving, but I always end up chewing up my nails and writing the songs. Life was made for living and roads were made for walking, so I'm glad that I've been given such a road to walk along. I'll love it till I'm gone. If I can't have good luck, give me good company. A couple friends and the road below my feet. And if I can't find the light, give me new eyes to see. Think that would be enough for me. I think that would be enough for me.
Wow, Johan, I want to hear a lot more of that. I want to hear a lot more of that. I want to hear a lot more of Johan, and Johan singing, Johan playing acoustic guitar, Johan writing.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've got a good start in this life, and I'm getting kind of goosebumps. So please do keep it up and keep following your musical passion and wherever you think that might lead you, because I think the world will be a beneficiary of the good vibes that you put out there.
Oh,
so,
thanks, man.
And it's and were you born and raised here?
Yeah, born and raised in Prescott, Arizona.
Excellent. So you are a true Prescottonian.
That I am, yeah.
And you will represent us well as you head out into this great world. Are you planning on doing some traveling, if possible, just to get out there? Grabbing your guitar and hitting the road? I'd be more than happy to set up some dates for you.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. No, I'm definitely, it's on the, some version of that is on the horizon. I've done some very brief stints with different bands that I've been in, the most recent being with Sugar in the Mint, but also back in the day with Wes Williams, played on the road a little bit. But yeah, I haven't really done my own thing yet on the road. So
well, you have to do a Howling Coyote tour with Jim.
Yeah,
I think is what he's getting.
Segue into
and I think that Kenny's going to have to be on that tour.
Yeah,
so.
well, you're gonna have to get.
Well, then
both of us,
we can get us if we go at the right time, which you normally do. We'll have to drop in on the Bohemian Grove again and play some.
Yeah, so if
play
there's
for
a
the
summer,
rock stars there. Yeah.
The invitation is official for Kenny James and
I'm only doing it if
Johan
Kenny does
Glidden.
it, so
I
you gotta
know.
blame him, man.
I know. Kenny is the sage
Like,
and the touchstone.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, for a lot of folks. So Johan, that was beautiful. Thank you so much.
thank you.
So there's a question that I ask. We live in a different age right now, an age when Kenny couldn't necessarily walk into a record store and buy a 45 of Sam Cooke anymore. There's not too many of those around. We get a lot of music streamed. We get a lot of music services. Kenny, what was your favorite radio station when you were growing up? And was there a DJ that you were really into when you were growing up?
Well, and you'll remember this. Remember K-Fog on Fridays at 4 o'clock? Do you remember what song they played?
Oh, God.
If you think about this, every Friday at 4 o'clock on K-Fog.
You think that I actually still have memory.
Yeah. Remember they did Smoke Two Joints every Friday.
Oh,
at
yes,
4
that's
o'clock.
right.
Every
That's
Friday
right.
at 4:20.
Wow,
Smoke
oh my
two
God, I got
joints before I
whiplash.
smoked 2 joints.
Yeah.
And
I smoked
then
2
I
more.
smoked 2 more. Every Friday on K-Fog. And I can't remember that DJ, but he was really cool.
Yeah.
But my favorite DJ was this guy, King Rafi, and he worked at KSJS, which was San Jose State's radio station. He started there, and then he moved to, what was the hip station in San Francisco, KFJC? Or
the public radio station?
no, the really hip, the hip one, the one that played all the hip.
When I had gotten there, I was attached to K-Fog mostly.
Yeah, me too. K-Fog, KOME, KSJO.
Yeah.
But my favorite memory of all time was the Sex Pistols on KSJO. When, I don't know if you remember that.
That was the early 80s. Yeah.
When or even before that, when they got KSJO in trouble with the FCC. But I remember like hearing that and just thinking, they can't say that on the radio. It was crazy.
For me, it was Rodney on the Rock.
Right.
Rodney on the Rock. He claims that he broke them at the Santa Monica Civic. I was at that show.
And then the big AM station had Dr. Don. KFRC. Yeah, KFRC Dr. Don, right? Yeah.
M. Dung.
Right. Oh, okay.
M. Dung in the afternoon.
Right.
So that is not a musical angel that you hear, ladies
But
and gentlemen.
that
is
AM
Matt
station,
Santos.
they played great music back then, you know. Yeah. I remember hearing Marvin Gaye on that station all the time, you know.
Off mic. What years were you out there?
Oh, since I was a kid.
Wait, I don't know.
Yeah, in the 70s and 80s. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I remember, like, we used to go to Circle
Santos
Star Theater.
was bouncing around back then, and I will use the name bouncing because of
My sister
various
and my
influences.
My sister and my brother and I, we would go to the Circle Star Theater all the time, and we'd be the only white people there. You know, we'd go in there to see Ray Charles. We'd go in there to see Aretha Franklin. We'd go in there to see Stevie Wonder. We'd go, you know, when Stevie Wonder had played the Circle Star Theater, he would play for 2 weeks. When Earth, Wind, and Fire would come and play the Circle Star Theater, they would play for a month. And we used to just go and, you know, and I remember like looking around, and I asked, my sister was older than me, and asking Karen, you know, it's like, why are we the only white people here? You know, I was like,
I try and stay off the mic when Jim takes over for Howling Coyote. But I was born and raised in Hayward. Is where I grew up. I'm 53 now, so I don't know where.
yeah, about the same.
Yeah, the very first concert. This is something I like. I'm hijacking, Jim. I'm sorry. one of the things I like asking musicians when I say, what was the first concert you ever went to? What was the first live music? For me, other than like at the county fair, you'd see somebody playing, or at a like a different community event type things. First real concert was at the Circle Star. You'd probably know better than me because I can't remember the year. It was either 75 or 76. It was War's Galaxy Tour.
Oh, wow.
And George Clinton opened for them. No, I'm sorry, not George Clinton, George Duke. Remember Dookie, the Dookie stick? He was a Bay Area legend. But that was, the Circle Star was a fantastic venue, man. Tore down, it's rubble now. But yeah, K-Fog was my go-to station. That was it. All right, but Jimmy's waving his fist at me. I'm gonna give it back.
What was the first show you went to, Jim?
First show I ever went to was Chuck Mangione at the Greek. I was 13, I think. And my
Great guitar solo.
My sister took me to that one. The first real concert I went to was also at the Greek, and that was Jeff Beck, there and Beck. And with Jan Hammer.
With Jan Hammer and Chick
Mo
Corea
Foster was on the bass, and Simon Phillips was on the drums. Yeah, little Simon.
I saw
Phillips.
Miles Davis at the Greek Theater a couple of times.
Yeah. And then we snuck into the Greek a couple of times. I won't talk about that, but didn't have a lot of money.
I think the
didn't come from money.
Limitations is out on that. I don't think they're gonna get you for not paying for your tickets.
All right, and being born and raised in Prescott, you probably didn't turn to the radio for your influences. You were probably turning to other avenues of where you were trying to absorb, like your dad.
Yeah, I was. Although there was a stage where I really listened to the radio a lot. I used to, for a while when I was younger. You only listen to what your parents listen to, and so I listened to the. It used to be like a '60s oldie station. It kind of changed, the 95.9. I used to listen to that, and I would even get up in the morning like a weirdo at like 3:30, 4 in the morning and listen, because I would call in and like win contact. I won something one time because
that's half the fun. Yeah.
I forget what song it was. It was some, I can't remember the name of the tune, but I called in and I got the question right, and I won some DVD or something. But yeah, and then that was how I started. I was listening at like 11, 12. I was listening to kind of horrible pop radio too, and you go through all your different phases. But I don't listen to too much radio now. But
yeah, we have a great station here, 90.1. Out of Yuma, they play some.
Is that the one that plays sort of like, they'll play some new music, but it's not it's
they'll
not
play
top 40
local
stuff.
artists too.
Oh,
They'll play
really?
a lot
Okay,
of-
cool.
Yeah, I mean, you send them their stuff, I guarantee you they'll put you on.
Oh, cool, yeah.
And then they've got undercurrents and all of the NPR stations and
Right.
Kenny James, 2019. What haven't you done? Is there anything that's left on your bucket list musically?
Oh, right now, in fact, I was telling Johan this morning at church, we're working on a Christian record together, and that's been like really, really good for me right now to be kind of focused on that. So it just recording and working on that and enjoying that, and we're putting together another one of those singer-songwriter shows, hopefully coming up here in February, but it's too early to announce that. We haven't got it all pinned down yet, but Johan and Don Cheek and I, you were at that show. We just kind of like test drove that to see how it would go. And that was crazy that day. I remember it was about 2:45 and I was looking around the room and there was like 3 people in the birdcage, and I was thinking, uh-oh. And then right at 3:00 it was full.
Yep.
It was sold out.
Yeah.
And people stayed the entire day and listened to
like 4
original
hours,
music.
too.
4 hours of original
Pretty
music.
impressive.
And so I was really kind of, I don't know how Johan felt, but that for days after that, I was so inspired. I just started writing, and I was really kind of walking on air because I thought, wow, that was so cool. It reminded me a lot of, the Howling Coyote Tour, of like getting up in front of like these kind of virgin audiences that have never heard your songs before and winning them over. And I forgot how cool that is. And for as great as Prescott is of a music town, we don't really have that type of venue here. We don't really have that singer-songwriter kind of venue. And just going out and playing covers in the bars is not my thing. And going out and hearing cover bands is not my thing. Nothing against any of them. I mean, I love them. I played with Don Cheek. I played in my own cover band. I respect it. I understand it. But I'm sick of it. The last thing I would want to do is go out to hear some cover band in a bar. Now, if there was a venue in town where somebody was... I know like Kaylina plays around a lot and she plays originals, and there's different singer-songwriters around town, and I know that you've been trying to develop that type of thing. So that's encouraging.
Mark's
but I wish
Beer
there was a
Garden.
venue that featured that.
What's the date? March Beer Garden, November 22nd.
Yeah, Friday.
It's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
up this Friday.
And talk about preaching to the choir.
Right.
Yeah. Original music to me is what it's all about. And the fact that song came out of you and you wrote it, and you're rolling up your sleeves and you're getting into it, and you're getting into yourself and what the possibilities are of the music that's going to come out of you. Mm-hmm. That's exciting. And the music that's going to come out of you. And that's way exciting.
It was really cool. I mean, if I could just do one quick anecdote, we were sitting there, and I think Johan might have been playing that song, or it was another one, and he was between me and Don. And I've got my silly songs about my cat Fred and Kathleen, you have nice teeth, and some of these dumb songs, and I've written a couple ones that I think are pretty okay. And Don's written some great songs and some good songs, Velvet Hammer, and Don's got. We were talking about the other night. He just writes these simple, hooky songs.
Yeah, and I don't hear him.
And there's Johan like
originals.
feeling it, and I look down, and Johan's dad sitting there, and he's singing that song that he wrote for his dad. And I love those types of songs. I've written a song for my dad and my sister, right, and my daughter, of course. And I look back behind Johan at Don, and we both look at each other. I mean, it was just chills. It's just so, and I don't know that. I never feel that at a cover show. At a cover show, I'm always in the audience just saying, wow, I was in a cover band in high school and we did it way better than these guys. That's always what I'm thinking in my head, It's like that's all I can think of. But sitting there listening to somebody like you just articulated, somebody that it's coming right from their heart and right from them, and to be in a room when Johan's singing this song that he wrote for his dad, and his dad is sitting there. Yeah. That was a really cool moment for me.
Yeah, the reason why I love original music so much is because it's happening right there, right then, and it's coming from their soul and their heart and their mind, and it's not derivative. It might be influenced by, and I love to hear all the wonderful influences that come through all of us, that stream through all of us from what we've absorbed over the years. But it's you're getting something in that moment that maybe you can relate to, or that speaks to you, or that makes you feel like a human being again, instead of just being washed over by the same old songs over and over and over again.
Just a castaway.
All right, let's get Kenny to play another song. Let's get some more music going here. And then, Johan, I'm going to have you play another song. And then...
why don't you just have Johan play another one?
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Since he's all set up.
All right.
Are you sure? We don't want to screw up the continuity of this thing.
No, there are no rules. It's just right.
All right. Which one? Would you guys like a sad song or a really sad song?
A really sad song.
You want the really sad one? Okay. So I think this is one I actually wrote since our songwriter circle, and this is sort of a prayer song, and it's called "Giving Up on Heaven," and hope you guys like it. Came burning through here like a forest fire. It feels so damned and godless now. You came cutting through my heart like a holy dagger. I think that blade is rusted out. I got a mustard seed, it's buried deep below. I've been wondering if you could make it grow. 'Cause I'm one step from giving up on heaven. I'm one step away. And I'm one ledge from falling off the edge. And I've been in faith, I'm one step away. I came running through the streets like a crazy man, and I don't dance there anymore. Traded all my love and music in for jealousy and war. I got a lot of sin that's buried in this soul, and I've been wondering if you could make it go. Make it go, go away. 'Cause I'm one step from giving up on heaven. I'm one step away. And I'm one ledge from falling off the edge. And I've been losing faith. I'm one step away. But I pray, don't leave me, cast me not away. Cause I'm one step from giving up on heaven. I'm one step away. And I'm one ledge from falling off the edge. And I've been losing faith. I'm one step away. I'm one step away. I'm one step away. Thank you. So that was the really sad one. Sorry.
That wasn't so sad. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Kenny, can I squeeze one more out of you?
Sure.
All right. Like fresh squeeze, Kenny. I didn't say anything about juice running down a leg or anything like
Right.
that. Come on.
Isn't that a Robert Johnson song about that, man? I play Squeeze My Lemon by Robert Johnson.
Oh, yeah. And Robert Planet has one about that, too, right?
Oh, yeah.
The juice running down his leg or something.
That's where I got it from.
Well, let's just end on that, actually.
Anyway, Kenny's about to play a very beautiful song. Right now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That was my bad.
No introduction.
Don't run away. Believe in yourself. Find a place to call your own. When you're afraid, ask me for help. Stand with you when you're alone. And when I see myself alive in someone else, when I remember holding you, if it were up to me, I'd take my daughter's dreams and make them all come true. We close our eyes, go far away, the empty echoes pass on through. Time after time, why does it always feel this way when we're learning how to choose? And when I see myself alive in someone else, when I remember holding you, if it were up to me, I'd take my daughter's dreams and make them all come true. And when I see myself alive in someone else, when I remember holding up to me, I'd take my daughter's dreams, make them all come true. If it were up to me, I'd take my daughter's dreams and make them all come true.
If you want to hear more of that, more of Kenny and his beauty and his magic and his soul, and more of Johan and the rainbows and
Fruit Loops and Fairy Tales.
Fruit Loops and fairy tales. No,
That's all I bring to the table, man.
I knew I shouldn't have taken that hit of acid before I did this.
And let's not forget about Jim. And let's not forget about Jim Sobo and his songs.
But honestly, if you want to hear more beautiful acoustic original music, come on down to Mark's this Friday, the 22nd of November, just before we break into Thanksgiving and all hell breaks loose for the holidays.
What time does that show start?
That's from
Jim?
6 to 9 p.m. And we'll be inside, so it'll be nice and warm and toasty.
What does it cost to get into this show?
It is free, 90 free.
Well, there's no excuse now.
And I will buy, if you've heard the podcast and you come up to me and say that I heard the podcast, I will buy you a beer. I just said that, yeah.
Yeah, man, I expect a free beer.
Matt will be there.
So this was so much fun. Oh my God, these are the favorite moments of my entire life. I'm being genuine and sincere when I say that. Thank you so much, Kenny. I know
Thank
you're
you,
so
Jim.
busy. I really appreciate and love you. I will say that. And Johan, thank you so much. I know we don't know each other very, very well, but I'm hoping after this next show that you'll see what a complete derelict that I am, and want nothing to do with me ever again.
Thank you so much for having me.
But you guys are officially invited on the tour whenever you want, including this upcoming summer. So you just let me know. For the winter tour, we've got Jacqueline Rowe, and we've got Mr. Pat Barry.
That's going to be cool.
And it's already booked. So go to www.howlingcoyotetour.com. Thank you, Mr. Matt Santos, who makes this all happen at milehighshow.com. And love you guys, and we'll talk to you next month. This is Jim Sobo signing out.
Horizon as the sun escapes the sky, and so do I. And I've got things to do, and I've got mountains to be moving, but I always end up chewing up my nails and writing songs. But life was made for living, and roads were made for walking, so I'm glad that I've been given such a road to walk along. I'll love it till